Alright, so let's talk about how to make a doughboy. One of the techniques to survival in the trench is make sure you have on you everything that you need on a daily basis. Unfortunately, our fresh to the fight doughboys, as they're nicknamed, their equipment was not so wonderful. One of the things is the uniforms. As you see here, again, you're going to be fighting in Russia. That is very cold climate, hence the trench coat. All Americans' uniforms were made out of wool. Again, any survivalist will tell you wool does not absorb water. It dries really quickly, but I don't know if anybody here is allergic to wool. It's extremely itchy and uncomfortable. So what your doughboy would be equipped with is your trench coat for warmth, your average everyday sort of dress shirt. Okay, you got to look like a soldier, but that is also wool. Imagine that up against your neck, itching you. You also had kind of your everyday, if you were fighting in the French countryside in spring, you'd probably wear something similar to that. You have your doughboy helmet. Now, it's not bulletproof. It's pretty much just metal. So somebody asked me today, what's the point? Well, something's better than nothing. If grenades are going off and shrapnel is flying, at least this would protect your head. Bullets, okay, can be penetrated by a bullet, but it's kind of like riding a bike without a helmet. You do it just in case. I already spoke about trench foot. So as you can see here, and if you can't see the visuals well on this camera, it's also uploaded as a PDF file so you can get an up-close view. But what the soldier is doing here is they've taken strips of wool and actually wrapped from ankle to calf as tight as they can to prevent water from leaking into their boots. So this was just another technique to prevent that trench foot from happening. You have your lovely gas mask, probably one of the most frightening images of war. Poison gas, it's going to be the first time it's used. They actually use chlorine bombs some of the time. And ask your chemistry teachers what happens to your organs and your esophagus when you actually breathe in massive doses of vaporized chlorine. It kind of is like drinking Drano. It just erodes your everything, your esophagus and everything. So this is before the invention of modern plastics. So it's basically just a nylon hood with the tube that would run to a can on your hip. The can would have a filter in it, sort of like a cigarette filter, and it would filter out the toxins from the air. Mustard gas was another, sort of famous trick that soldiers would use. Gas was invented, well, you can probably assume, if everybody's hiding in their trenches and your goal is to get into your opposition's trench, but you can't run across no man's land without getting shot down. The easiest way to clear out that trench, throw in a poison gas bomb and kind of kill everybody in the trench before you run and take it over. So poison gas warfare, although extremely inhumane death, was very effective in clearing out the trenches. They also had poison gas masks for horses. Up top here is a bayonet. Now bayonets, if you got close enough to somebody in World War I to actually stab them with it, you were a pretty lucky soldier. But the bayonet is merely, it's going to be, put on the top of a gun, the tip of a gun. It's just psychologically threatening. You have about a 3-foot sword attached to your rifle. That gets pretty intense looking across the trench at your enemies with that. You would have a hand blade in case you needed, hand-on-hand combat. Probably going to be used more to prepare your food and things like that. What you're seeing here is a U.S. mess kit, it's called, mess equipment, like a mess hall for dining. You have plates and forks and all that kind of stuff. Your most important tool is a shovel or an entrenching tool. It's literally, entrench means to dig yourself into the ground, to protect yourself. So if you were running across a larger, width of no man's land and you came under enemy fire, you whip out this thing, dig a hole, and try to wait it out. So in the end, this is what our doughboy would look like in full uniform. Not too bad, but again, nothing like the uniforms we see today. What I have here is a shaving kit they would have kept, because again, lice, you're not showering every day in these trenches, so soldiers were supposed to stay clean shaven, as this one is, couldn't have any facial hair, couldn't let your hair get too long, because the infestation that would take place was just too great of a risk.